Okay, Endeavour, we rejoin the story, where the explorer was talking about what to do if he fell off the raft in the rapids. No, he said sternly, the only honourable thing to do is drown. Oh, said Lila. Oh, said Fred. Fine, said Con, what else? And then there are certain preparations you must make. Have you got a pen? They didn't, of course, but Lila took a flint and began to scratch into a piece of grey stone. In the forest 50 miles down from here, and the explorer adding to the dust map, you'll come across a kind of bee. It's absolutely minuscule and rather beautiful. It's drawn to sweat and to moisture, and it's happiest when nesting on the centre of a pupil in your eye. The people there call them eye lickers. Write that down. Eye lickers, said Lila, scratching hard. There was no fear in her face, only concentration. Backer climbed on top of her head and sat there like an inquisitive hat. The best thing to do is wear a net over your eyes. Could we make netting? Asked Fred. That's a good question. It's one of the very few things that is almost impossible to make. Could I... Fred closed his eyes and tried to picture what a net would need to look like. Punch holes into a bit of snakeskin? Well, you could. The explorer looked at Fred, nodding slowly. That's not a bad idea, in fact, but finding snakeskin is difficult in these parts. The vultures eat them. I have one mosquito net. It's the most valuable thing I own, I think. They waited. I suppose I can cut off 4 pieces. You can tie them round the backs of your heads with vines. Thank you, said Fred and Lila together. That's kind, said Com solemnly. The explorer waved it away, frowning unexpectedly awkward in the face of gratitude. And then the vampire bats. He added a further line to the map and some spikes to show hills. You'll need to find a way to deal with them. Com looked up. Please tell me this is a joke. Not at all. They come in swarms. Not around here, but on the other side of the mountain. You'll have heard them. No, said Con. Fred hadn't either, but Lila will have, he said. I've never seen one, said Lila, but their front teeth are sharper than razors and their tongues give off a chemical that stops your blood from clotting. Quite, said the explorer. It's all very impressive from an evolutionary point of view, but very frustrating from a personal one. Frustrating, said Con. Bats that eat you are frustrating. They don't eat you, dear child. They drink you. I assure you there's a difference. When you strike around the mountain, you'll need to be wary of maggots. Maggots, said Con. The skin on her face was lurid white. Yes, it's unpleasant to think of yourself as a kind of person maggots choose to associate with, but there you are. There was a disconcerting moment many years ago when a maggot worked its way out of my skin. It poked its head up out of my body like a meerkat rising from a hole. It was extremely surprising. I'll teach you how to extract them with a thorn and some fire. Remind me. Lila wrote maggots on the list and added a question mark. The explorer looked up at them appraisingly. You should go soon. You're nearly ready. Fred stared at him. Somehow the news didn't fill him with the relief that it should have done. You should go before it rains. You can fish now. Fred knows how to set a trap. With that, and the tarantulas and some berries, you should survive. The maggots get worse during the rains, and the going is much slower when the ground is boggy. And there's yellow fever, of course. Oh, of course, said Con. She sounded a little hysterical. Maggots aren't enough without a fever turning you yellow. It sounds like a proper holiday. The explorer ignored her. And when you get back to the city, when they ask you how you found your way, you've got to lie. Well, say whatever you want. We will. And no matter how many people ask, you don't mention my name, do you understand? We don't know your name, Con pointed out. What is it? So we know what not to say. The man gave a rumble, half anger, half amusement, deep in his throat. He rose and hefted the vulture onto his arms. I'll be working today. If you try and come behind the vine wall again, I'll feed your little toes too. The vulture, yes, we know, said Con. What was that meat? Asked Fred as the explorer turned to go. It was good. What? Oh, caiman, he said. The one in the lake. That night, Max came and tugged at Fred's foot. Fred, he hissed. His whisper was extremely damp. Fred, I have bad news. I have bad feelings. What? Fred jerked awake, searching for Max's face in the dark. I have bad feelings, lots of bad feelings. Shh, Max, what are you scared of? Max's voice was whiny and there was a real fear in it. There's something coming. There's nothing coming, said Fred. You're dreaming about the caiman. He listened. The forest was never still. It rustled and insects called and monkeys bellowed in the night. But it didn't sound any quieter or louder than usual. What kind of thing? An animal, a monster. It's watching us, I know. There There are no monsters, Max. They're watching, I've heard them. The animals are living their own lives, Max. I promise they're not interested in us. I can hear them breathing. You don't need to worry. The only thing you need to do is go to sleep. It was dark under the vine roof, but Fred could see that Max's eyes were wide and unconvinced. His hair was wet with sweat. Can I sleep next to you? Fred hesitated. Max was not a quiet sleeper. He thrashed a lot and bit things and farted in his sleep. Please. All right, but please try not to bite me, okay? Yes, said Max. He took a firm hold of Fred's wrist and put it in his mouth and went to sleep. It was just as Fred was falling asleep that he saw the movement in the trees. He rose to his knees and crossed, keeping low, to the doorway of the stone house. He looked over at the square. Moonlight filtered through the holes in the canopy. Something was watching them, but it wasn't an animal, and it wasn't a monster. It was the explorer. He was sitting in a low branch, leaning easily against the trunk, knife in hand, keeping guard. What a change. Right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow